I'm a Democrat.
I'm Caitlin Carroll, and I'm a Republican.
And welcome to Debatlin.
Today's issue is the economy, what the candidates are saying about it in 2008, and what that means to you and to college students across the country. First, let's take a look at the Republican side with John McCain and his stance on the economy in 2008. Now, the economy, it has been agreed, is not one of John McCain's strong points. In fact, McCain has come under a lot of flack from Democratic candidates, specifically Hillary Clinton recently, because he even admitted to an audience that he doesn't really know a lot about the economy and should probably research it a little more before making more broad policy statements. The policy statements McCain has made specifically relate to spending and tax cuts. He really wants to focus on pulling back congressional spending and reining that in, getting that under control, and increasing tax cuts for the middle class, as well as making some tax cuts permanent so that they affect more people for a longer period of time. One of the problems of this for McCain is that, well, focusing on government spending and tax cuts, while that's all well and good, particularly from a Republican point of view, might not be the most relevant approach to the economy in 2008. The headlines are completely filled with stories of individual worries and families' worries about their personal financial state and those people wanting to know what the government's going to do for them. So even though McCain can approach the issue from a fiscally conservative standpoint, it doesn't seem like he's been successful yet in transferring these old ideas of focusing on government spending and transferring them into the new concerns about individual financial stability and security. So that's going to be one of the things that McCain, in his research about the economy, should really focus on. And of course, it's relevant to us as college students because many of us will be graduating very soon. And even if we're not, we'll be working in the summer, taking summer jobs. And so the state of the economy, employment rates, and the credit crunch, lending, those sort of things, all of these problems are going to be really relevant to college students in the next year. And I think really on young people's minds as they approach the polls in November.
On the Democratic side, we are still looking at Hillary and Obama. Haven't narrowed it down yet. But so on the economy, Obama's policy is really interesting because a lot of the literature on his website focuses on actually kind of an environmental take on the economy, and he's, a lot of his plans have to do with, renewable energy sources and finding new ways to save on that. And also, the Hillary Clinton, I don't know, hers was a little more bland. Hers wasn't as exciting, but same thing, like hers focuses a lot on families and of course on her health plan. And so I think a lot of the kind of stimulating spending that she's wanting to do is for healthcare programs. So, but the Obama plan is very interested in creating lots of new jobs through these economic incentives. And so that's relevant to college students since we'll be looking for jobs in 4 years or less, hopefully. So that's how it's applicable.
Looking at the Democratic side of November, let's go ahead and start making some predictions. How do you think the economy, how do you think it's going to play out in terms of the demographics? In party sides. I would say, looking at it from a nonpartisan perspective, it really looks like it's coming down in favor of the Democrats, that the Democrats have more of the answers. What do you think? What did you see in your research that really reflected that? Or do you think it's just the job increases or like the overall mentality?
Well, I think, younger people it seems a general trend, we talked about this when we talked about the environment, that it seems a general trend that younger people are concerned about the environment and things like that, and concerned about, I guess, the future of the world, pretty much. And
it's theirs. Like, we're going to have to deal with it. We might as well care.
I think Obama is picking a kind of an interesting, and of course policy, you can talk as much as you want about policy, but all that really matters is what you actually get done, So Obama is interesting to me that a lot of his literature is talking about money in terms of like how we can help the environment. And I think that will play to young voters, but at the same time, it's important to remember is that young voters are like the least responsible demographic. So I think you're right. I think Democrats have the better economic plan over John McCain.
I didn't say better. I said more popular.
More popular. But at the same time, I think it's interesting that Obama's plan seems to cater to younger people, and they're like the least likely demographic to actually get out and vote. So that should be interesting.
But I noticed Obama's plan is very much really keeping in his rhetoric. It sort of breaks down as here are the problems. It very clearly states these are the problems with the status quo. But it then goes into really optimistic rhetoric.
Right.
I mean, the typical, and there's not a lot of, real hard policy backing it up there, but it's, Americans deserve to be innovative and leaders in the 21st century, and okay, that's great, but what does that actually mean? I mean, what does that mean in terms of job creation and growth and that sort of thing? But I think that's what people are really looking to. I wonder if you saw the story. It was top headline on Drudge this morning, and it's the story from The Independent that it's the Great Depression. This British newspaper, The Independent, that was their cover and headline today, and they had pictures of. The story was about food stamps and how more Americans than ever. It was something up like 1.5 million. Americans are now on food stamps compared to last year. It's something like 28 million now, up from 26.5. So
You're just a little information of facts there. You're crazy.
So,
okay.
Only on taping days, got to remember this stuff. So do you think that these are real? Because to me, if you read the article, they also say that this was correlated with a push from the federal government to advertise food stamps and to increase their usage. So to me, it would seem like, oh, well, maybe this is just the result of good advertising. More people realizing it's an option and not necessarily a sign of a depression. Do you think that I think that's sensationalism a little bit. Do you think that from the Democratic perspective?
I wouldn't say that we're in the middle of a Great Depression, and I definitely agree that, I mean, if you want people to use food stamps, then you shouldn't be freaking out when they actually do, you know what I mean? Like, if you
use food stamps, oh my gosh, what happened?
What are all these people on food stamps? I mean, I don't know. I don't see any. I mean, surely we would want people to be self-sufficient. Surely we would want to encourage people and get them on the right track, right career path, give them the training that they want. There's a lot of that in Hillary Clinton talking about, providing the right training for people, even if you see like they're in a job that might kind of get phased out as the years go along. It's our responsibility to bring that in. So, I mean, I think there's a fine line between helping people and encouraging them and getting them back on that path, and then being afraid that too many people are doing that. That's what we're trying to eliminate. So if there's rises and falls in the food stamps, I mean, that's not a big deal.
I also feel like that sort of approaching the data that way and turning it into this big news story kind of feels like it's creating the problem.
Exactly.
I mean, I look at the housing market, and as a college student who's trying to find summer housing in a large city for an internship, it's ridiculously expensive. I mean, you can talk about how much the housing market's collapsed, and I understand a lot of people are going through foreclosures, but I have to wonder if we're blowing it out of proportion, if it's maybe better than we think it is. But it makes a really good headline to say the Great Depression, to say, Americans living in the streets and, the Federal Reserve is coming and taking your home away. But it's definitely like a contrived story or a real problem. It's definitely going to be a big issue in 2008.
Yep, I totally agree.
Definitely. And a big one for college students. So start taking the personal finance classes now.
Exactly.
While you can.
Sign up this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Start registering for classes. Get on that.
Tell them you came highly recommended from Caitlin and Caitlin.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all we have time for today, but we hope to see you next week on Debatlin.
Yeah. Thanks for coming by.